All right, let's get started here, guys. So we've got two big topics today. Originally, this was going to be just a normal update, a normal what's going on in the week, and our big kind of star and still the star of the show is our special guest, Kittycakes, who's actually an illustrator for the Cool Cats team. So we'll spend the latter half still talking with her and just really understanding what it's like to create art for Cool Cats, what it's like working with Clon, and taking that really artist centric view that got a number of us into this project and continue to keep us here. I think it'll be really refreshing to hear from her just how the creative team is run within Cool Cats. But the first item to talk about, obviously, is it's like it's not even the elephant in the room. It's like the stampede in the room, which is a number of things that happened today that I think caused a ton of discussion, a ton of controversy, what have you. But let's walk through it, and maybe I'll just spend a few minutes here just recapping from my vantage point what happened today and what's the perception of Cool Cats. What's going on? And I'd love to open it up just for discussion for everyone on stage here. So from my vantage point, what I saw happen today, Cool Cats tweeted out earlier today that their town halls, which used to be weekly, now became bi-weekly, and today they stated they'll be conducted on a quote unscheduled but still regular basis moving forward. And I think if you look at like classic town hall or founders updates, it's been since July, since we like early July, since we heard from them. I think there's this sense of just unsettled feeling around what's happening with Cool Cats. What's the vision? What are the founders doing or not doing for the brand, for NFT holders in general? Then second event was that caused a lot of controversy was I see our Farokh out in the audience there. They can't avoid this topic, which is Farokh obviously listed a number of his cats, and those obviously close to a dozen, if not around that amount, those sold. And I think that caused a lot of discussion. And I just want to set up front here, like this is not a like I'm of the standpoint that Farokh, like anyone else of us in this space, has the right to buy, right to sell. So this space shouldn't be one of those sessions where we're just like complaining or bashing on anyone's shame selling or anything of that sort. So I'm just listing out the facts here of what happened today, which is Farokh sold his cats. And obviously that caused a lot of chatter and discussion. And then you saw a number of tweets from people in the space on Twitter and on Discord just saying, hey, is Cool Cats dead? And that just led to more and more forced selling, more forced listing. So the question is like, what is the feedback? Why is this happening? Like, why are people acting on these series of events here? Why is Cool Cats down in the dumps? And I think what I'm seeing is really coming down to a few things. One is the continued lack of trust in the team's direction. So one is, what is the vision of Cool Cats? Does anyone have a good sense of that? Cool Cats has done a lot with their social media lately for things like, things that are great, like contests, tournaments, puzzles, all that good stuff. But I think there's this overarching wonder on like, is this it? Is this like what we signed up for? Is there something broader and bigger within Cool Cats that's going to eventually happen? How are we hitting the mainstream? How are we going to be part of a journey that's much bigger than just Twitter contests and Discord games? I think that vision is something that a lot of folks are looking for the founders. And I think the town halls going to an ad hoc basis just kind of, became another slap in the face for people in the community, as I perceived it. The second thing is Cool Pets is problematic. I just call it what it is. It's not so much a full-on rug, but I think a lot of Cool Pets holders would probably say, I feel like a second, third class, NFT holder here. Where is this going? Like, where are Cool Cats specifically, or Cool Pets going? Because if Cool Cats is launching new collections with new characters, one question is, what does that mean for me as a Cool Pet holder? And two, seeing how Cool Pets has kind of fallen by the wayside, is that just not a sign of things to come for these new characters that are coming out too? And that's not even diving into comments on, Genesis cool cat holders, what's in it for them. So there's that distrust that's going on too. So I'll open it up here, but those are kind of the main things that I'm seeing from today, and just the general sentiment from the team. Sniper, you go first.
So for me, I mean, I thought today was a little wild. I didn't know that many people would get upset about Farokh selling. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, look, I'm not even best friends with the guy, but he's a pretty good damn businessman. And I mean, you can look at the blockchain and see. I mean, he did have to take some losses, but it's like I'm curious to see what Farokh is going to say, because I want to know what you saw that made you want to stand back. But for me personally, man, the trust is just evaporating for me, because I mean, we would think that we're starting to get somewhere with it. We told them we want to talk more with the team, we want to hear more from the team, and then all of a sudden town halls go back some. So it's like, damn, just when I thought we were going forward, we take 10 steps back, and it's like, how many times are we going to do this? And just looking at it now, I mean, even me, I sold a cool cat last week, because in the direction I wasn't seeing anything pop up. Like, yeah, we talk about Joe and we talk about the other characters, but it's why should I think anything of them whenever I don't even feel like I'm getting much from my Genesis cool cat? I could care less about another thing right now until we get this fixed. And I just don't see us going in the right direction in the way that I'm not saying they're staying quiet, but they're sure as hell not giving me any info on what's going on or what's behind the scenes. I mean, most I know is that Jarvis is the new addition. I don't really know nothing past that. But I mean, that's just me. I mean, Zupa, you're more than welcome to go.
Yeah, just real quick. Farokh didn't even sell all his cats, so I mean, I just think it's a bit of an overreaction, and like everybody that's going after him, it's just kind of ridiculous. He 5 cats is quite a bit of any project to hold. So
if he
you can go
sells his
check
rainbow
it. It's
hair,
on the
then you
chain.
should be worried.
Never.
Yeah,
He said,
but yeah,
never.
he's here now, so he can speak for himself.
Well, let's let Hales go, and then Farokh would love to hear from you after Hales.
Oh, my contribution was just gonna kind of reemphasize that we only see the shit on the stuff on Twitter that people choose to put out. We don't know what's going on. There's no room for speculation, especially in this market that we're in right now. I think that it's really disheartening to just see people judge and put in their 2 cents about things, one, that don't concern them, and 2, things that are out of your control. And I feel like I'm just kind of blabbering on. There's lots of hands. But I just wanted to say that, I think as a community, this is a time where it's just a rough patch, bro. Like, you've never gone through a rough patch in your life. Like, it's not the end of the world. It's just what's going on today. Like, we still got tomorrow, the next day, and the day after that. So, my 2 cents there. Thanks for letting me talk.
Thanks, Hales. Farokh, you want to jump in on this?
Hey, sure, of course. I figured I'd come up here because, first of all, I have a ton of respect for you, and I love your spaces, and I keep saying it, and I'll say it again. I think you're arguably one of the best things that happens to this project this year, and by very far. And you know that I turned to you for information because it started a few nights ago. I had the thought of selling a few cats, as you obviously all have seen, because apparently it made me trending on Twitter today. But I held 5 back. Just for people to know, there is 5 cats and 15 pets in my wallet still, even though 2 of them are listed. No, Sniper, the rainbow hair cat, has not left the wallet, nor will it leave, because that cat simply is one of the most it was a whole part of my life and my identity on this app. I mean, the Rug Radio banknote that's in our Rug Radio vault right now, that yields 10% of the tokens that we produce every day has a cool cat on it, which is my cat, and some of her rugs do, which is also the rainbow cat. So that cat means a lot to me, and it was a special time in my life. Because the cats were a special time in my life as a whole, because my whole life is around NFTs in this space. So There's none of that stuff, and it's nothing also that came personal, like in terms of like a beef or whatever with founders or whatnot. I think I really want to reiterate this. I've said it 20 times. I'll say it again. I have so much respect and love for Clon, and you know, I love him as an artist. Like, I mean, you know, I just love Clon, and that'll be the case forever. That's for sure. It's just from a it was pure, today was a pure professional and money standpoint. You know, it's I had 14 cats in the start of the day, which have depreciated quite a lot. And I think it's the case for a lot of people, and that's okay. The whole market has depreciated. My own project has depreciated, which is fine. So it's important. You know, when Hale said that, I think it's very important. So I love what you said. But it was a financial point of view, whereas you keep tuning back in and you're listening, and you're looking, and the price goes down, and price goes down, and price goes down, and then at some point you decide to sell it. And you know, in my position, thankfully, like I have ETH or money that I can do other things with and live with. But for someone, let's say someone in my position had, like, that's the only ETH they had that was tied into this NFT. Well, in their case, what do? And they feel stuck. And so this is, for a moment, like, how I felt. I was like, I'm stuck in this position. And it's something that I approached as a pure trading thing. That's why I'm using the word position, which I never use. But I've been talking to Sighduck, I've been talking to Goodnight, I've been talking to Horn Dog, a bunch of people. I keep checking back in, and they know how I feel. This has been long, for those who know me and have been talking in the background. This is something that I've been contemplating for a very long time, but for the longest time, I was extremely scared to do. You all know what happened last time I listed cats around 80th mark, and after that time, I said no, never again, and I decided to hold everything. And you know what? I held everything through an over $200,000 or $300,000 loss, $1,000 loss, which, you know, at the end of the day, I've accepted. And those around me know that I've personally accepted that, though it's a tough pill to swallow. It doesn't matter how much money someone has. It sucks at the end of the day. And so it's something that today I said, you know what, that's it. And then I will be honest, this happened after I saw the tweet about the town hall. And here's why. I saw the tweet. It was sent to me in the chat where we talk about Cool Cats a lot because we're curious to know what's going on. And then I got the tweet saying, oh, town hall was biweekly. And then whatever, you guys saw it. I don't want to paraphrase, but it was biweekly. But now it'll be like when we have stuff to talk about. But it came in the middle of some other time where we don't really know what's happening, and where communication, especially in the bear market, is arguably the most important thing you can provide to your community. And I know that because it's something I have to get better at, and I am getting better at with my own community. And so when I saw that, I was like, well, damn, like, and now I come on here and I hear that you guys said you haven't heard from them in the Discord for updates since early July. You know, this actually makes me not second think what I did. I actually think I did the right thing, but I still wanted to have exposure to the position because there is a side of me that will always have that 1% of hope for the Cool Cats because I like the IP and I like the artist, and that's honestly, between us, it's my only reason to even hold a cat is the art and the artist and you guys. So it's this community, right? Because you guys are the people that are literally holding the project together. And so when you look at it from a trading position and standpoint, which is the standpoint I took today, not the Farokh emotional one, which I've taken before, which cost me a lot of money because that's why I bought them in the first place. That's my fault. And so it was, well, what does 10 ETH or 12 ETH or 14 ETH that I get out of it get me? I'm like, wow, that gets me a whole damn lot. And I can perhaps make myself over again with that stuff. Or I can put it into art. Or I could simply, you know what, keep the ETH. And I advise a lot of people to start keeping their ETH, right? And so, and it's in general, not just for the Cool Cats, right? And so that was my thinking. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I tried listing on the floor. Didn't work out. And I said, you know what, before everybody starts tweeting about me cutting the floor, whatever, I'm just going to take the bids because this is the fastest access there is to liquidity for me in this position. And when people see me list the floor, they're just, what are they going to do? They're going to cut me out, undercut me. So that was honestly pure like a financial. So that's why I came on today. Like, I don't want people to think it's a personal thing attached to it. Like, this was a purely financial like play for me. I had to get out of the position. And also, it's something that has helped me from sleeping at night. As funny as it sounds, like if I tell you to ignore me, I'm like, yo, so these blue cats have like stopped me from like sleeping a couple nights. They'll think I'm fucking crazy, but y'all know what I mean. Like when everything goes down, you see your net worth, you see everything, some assets you have get evaporated. Like it happened to a lot of us. It gets evaporated like this, flash. All the money you thought you had, is no longer. Well, you think about things, and I'm like, wow, all these times I paid $35,000 for a cat, $50,000 for a cat. And in the morning show, if you listen to us, say that a lot. I say, I can't believe that during the peak euphoria, I personally was making the mistakes investing in certain assets. So it's not just the cats, it's a lot of them. You go to my wallet, there's a million dead NFTs. At least the cats are 2 ETH, which is something you should be proud of in this market. But like, I was just thinking, I'm like, well, fuck, like that held me from sleeping a lot of nights. And that's it. So I did it. You know, I ripped the Band-Aid off at once. It sucks. It was loud. And why? Because I have a lot of followers and people follow my shit all the time. You're used to it. And but it is what it is. And it had to be done. And if it sends a message, great. If it doesn't, great. But in this space, you vote with my wallet, and my vote goes there. My vote goes towards, you know, putting money into other founders and other projects who I think during this bear market will be able to come through with a lot. And you know what? If they go back up to 10 ETH, 15 ETH, I'll be clapping, because I hate when people sell then FUD, because there is about 5,000-6,000 other people that have a cool cat, including myself. I still have like 4 or 5 that count on the project to work. And maybe those people are not as fortunate as I am, and they really fucking need it to work. So that's kind of like my piece. I'm sorry it's long-winded, but obviously it's been kind of like taking over the most of my day aside from the work I have. And I wanted to come and say it to you all. You know, it's this is how it is, and those are the facts. It's better you hear it from me than people speculate on them.
Well, thanks for coming up, Farokh, and talking through that. And I want to get to Kyle and Ham, who had their hand up. But before we do, Andrew, you're on stage, and one thing you mentioned today was, I mean, Farokh's talked about, you know, just the struggle he's had with this project, and also listing selling cats. And you said you guys have talked about this a ton, just in private. I guess, what's your kind of take on this? The events that happened today. What's valid? What's unfortunate? What's insightful?
I think, speaking honestly, look, I'm not prepared for this discussion in any way. I think it is interesting to sort of map out the course of our journeys, both like as a community and as individually. What Cool Cats is today is different from what it was a year ago when we were getting into it. Remember, this is August 2022. August 2021 was when we said this is the month of Cool Cats. I think it's interesting how, you know, if it is every August, this is like the second month of Cool Cats. And at least I'm realizing that like things in my life and in the NFT space and in the project are all very, very different. You know, one thing that is kind of on my mind, I know a lot of people want me to like give like a thumbs up or a thumbs down on the stuff today, and I guess like that doesn't really feel like me, like my personality, like you guys knowing me. I think giving my thoughts on this, you know, a year ago, not everybody was here, but I think those who were, and we could walk it back for everybody else. The space was very different. It was not as financialized as it is now. Obviously, we were just getting into a bull market, didn't get hit with this really tough bear. I had like a really big come up with Cool Cats because you guys, being the community that you are, you helped uplift me in the space and sort of keep me in it, and kept me in it long enough to the point where I started working on more stuff. You know, it's interesting that the expectations of the space nowadays are just so different from what they were a year ago. And part of it is like we've had like a lot of bad actors, we've had a lot of scams, rug pulls, um, a joke about like floor influencers who will take like any cheap partnership or, you know, allow this giveaway so they can just accrue value for themselves. I'm just gonna say it, it's pretty obvious. You know, all of that is like a way for people to think like, wow, like I've been burned this many times over the past year, I've been hurt this many times over the past year. And I think everybody's felt it. Like find me one person who's like survived all of this like without a scratch, and it's probably the scammer or rug puller themselves. um, you know, that's why it's difficult, and I think everybody kind of has this pain. So when we see something, um, you know, it can hurt a lot more than it would in another situation, and that's both valid but also worth like breaking down. um, you know, for me, like I've taken a big loss on cats because as much as everybody hears about me buying my upside down cool cat at 5 ETH by emptying my bank account when I was, about to go back to school. They don't hear about how I swept the cats at 15 ETH when ETH was at like $3,000-$4,000. And it's just kind of how it plays out. Like, I made a mistake, and that's on me as well. It was a decision that I made. But I think like it's a good time to sort of like work through this. I echo what Farokh was saying about his love for Clon and the art. I think that's what drew me to it as well. If you guys heard my podcast, that's what I talked about. Not to just get back to it, but to think like, how do we get to V2 of that? I'm pretty proud of this community, I think, because I feel like this is more representative of the Cool Cats community. People can come in and either like give their take positive or negative on Twitter, and it might not be reflective of like the actual community. It might be for engagement, it might be just to stir things up. I feel like I've sort of like lost my touch a bit because I'm not as controversial as other people. Maybe I should be more of a hero or more of a villain. But for me personally, thinking about it, I hope the Cool Cats team is able to rally from this. I think back in the day when Cool Cats was first starting, everybody who was here, it's not like today where so many shills and people promoting things are paid under the table, or given tons of spots and value that they can flip on people quietly with hidden wallets. It was like we just liked this thing and hope that not only we would celebrate an artist who was trying to give himself a second chance, but that we would probably also see that value come back to us, if not directly. I feel like I'm kind of rambling. This is not really about me. I'm just a community member. With my own cats, I think it's interesting. I used to say I've never sold a cat at all, and I've sold only a couple of cats because I needed the liquidity for something else. But I'm glad this has been a civil discussion so far. Again, maybe I'm not controversial enough, but yeah, I think we all still have hopes for the project, and we'll see how it plays out from here. But thanks for the time to speak, and I love to listen to other people's takes.
Thanks, Andrew. Kyle, you want to go?
Yo, sorry. This is maybe kind of a hot take, so feel free to shoot it down. And maybe just because I feel like I'm kind of an easygoing guy because I minted my cat and I wasn't buying it 15 ETH, but I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like I don't know, there's just constant demands for this communication and saying it's not existent and this and that. And I don't know, maybe I don't follow other projects closely enough, but I'm not convinced that Cool Cats has any worse communication or less of it. In fact, I think they over communicate when you compare to some of the other quote unquote blue chip projects. And so sometimes I don't know. I feel like there's just too many cooks in the kitchen, too many community members making demands about we need this, we need that. And so I don't know. I guess it's hard because the town halls, Cool Cats was born out of this open weekly communication. But at the same time, if we demand, weekly things or, these constant updates, I feel like it's hard to keep hype, too, because if there's nothing exciting this week, do we really benefit from this town hall where there's nothing, right? And so, I don't know. Sometimes I feel a little bit like we're trying to demand all this communication when if there's not anything to be communicated yet, we know they're looking for a CEO. If they don't have one yet, I guess it could be good, to update us on the progress. But I'm confident when they find one, they're going to announce it or whatever. So anyways, I don't know if that makes sense. But sometimes, I just feel like other projects aren't doing more. It feels like Cool Cats, maybe this comes from outside the community too, where people just like to try to point out flaws. And obviously there have been some, but I just sometimes when you compare to other projects, a lot of other projects have had major delays. They've been promising things for months, with no updates. yet those I feel like don't get the same level of like just like attacks or hate from just random people.
Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, I think the critique sometimes is, what is it, the amount of communication or is it the quality of communication and what's being communicated? But Ham, what's your take?
It's a perspective game. I mean, that's all it really is. I mean, I've been on both sides of this debate. I sold my last cat a couple weeks ago, maybe last month, honestly, for like 4 or 5 ETH, and every cat I had bought in the last like 3 months had dropped like by 2 ETH. Every time I bought a cat, I lost money on it. I'm down probably $80,000 on cats, and if I still had a cat, I'd be pretty upset right now. But ever since I sold, it's really shifted the way I see the cats and what they mean to me. Now I look at them and I want to get back in, but I mean, I look at them as just the art, as one of probably the best crafted PFPs in the space of any NFT. They're so perfect. The line work, the colors. Even when I tuned into Clon last week doing the Joe drawing session, as soon as he brought it up on the screen, I'm like, fuck, this guy can make a PFP. How the hell does he get these proportions so perfect? So that's the way I view the cats right now. I view them as a completely undervalued, almost perfectly designed PFP with a war chest. If they stabled all the money from the pets when ETH was at $4,000, this team has so much money to work with. And I get it that if you're down money and you're holding on, you want something. And it's just a perspective game, honestly. I feel more than happy to buy a cat if it goes lower and lower. I commented on Farokh's post today. I'm like, keep sending them down.
I saw you. That was funny.
Yeah, I was like, send them down. I'll buy them all at one. And also I just wanted to speak to Farokh quickly. Like, that mad respect for coming in here, coming up on stage in the middle of like the community spaces for the project you were getting FUD from all day, and really giving a thoughtful and rational explanation that is you're perfectly within your rights. And losing sleep over something like this is not something I personally experienced, but you're a public figure and you knew what was going to happen, and you still know that you needed to make that kind of tough decision, and then coming in here and owning it. Big respect to you. So my opinion of you, I mean, it was fine before, but it's much better now. So anyway, that's all I want to say.
Hales, what you got?
Oh, I think Sniper had his cute little paw up before me.
Yeah.
He can go before me. What I'm gonna say probably will be more worthwhile a little later.
Sniper, let's hear it.
What she's probably going to say is probably way more important than me. But no, I just wanted to, there's so many things I could circle back on. For one, I'm not going to lie to you, was not a huge fan of Farokh. People that know me know that. I have a lot of respect for you, brother. You really changed my mind today, dude. Only because, like Ham said, it takes a lot to come in here and really own up to what you did. And I'm not going to lie, you're one hell of a businessman. And I think a lot of people just need to realize other people's entry points as well. I mean, Farokh has been here from the very beginning, along as a lot of other people. But sometimes you just got to take a step back. Of course, like, he's going to get hit harder because he's an influencer. People think he pumps and dumps, yada, 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 etc. But people don't get on the other people that, sell. No one got on me because I sold a cool cat last week. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So, for one, I just want to say, anyone listening in, I mean, the cell shaming stuff is kind of lame. It's really lame, to be honest with you, just because, there's a lot of things that people need to get done. Like me personally, I needed that stuff for bills. If someone would have came to me and been like, oh, I can't believe you sold a cool cat, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I do believe that the team is working really hard, but I'm a firm believer of, like, I can be a cool cat maxi all day, but as an investor and as someone who's putting money into something, whenever I love it and 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 other people do not love it the same way, I got to realize that from a standpoint, take a step back and be like, how deep into this am I? And do I actually need to step away? So, I mean, personally, anybody that wants to sell a cat, by all means, do what you need to do. Take anything. Farokh also sold a pudgy penguin. You didn't see no one saying nothing about that. He sold other projects too. Didn't really matter. It was just the fact that we are so drawn and like so emotionally attached to these cool cats. It's like anything's hurting our feelings. And I'm just here to say, like, it's okay, like, just to be in the community, like. But that's just me. Shout out to the people that are up here. I'm gonna stop rambling on. Andrew, thank you for saying what you said earlier, and everyone that's been contributing. I'm just happy to be here, and I'm glad that all of y'all are here with us. I mean, there's like 220 people, and it's, I mean, just to be able to have this and not go negative, not get toxic, I think that says a lot about the Cool Cats and the community that we have built here for the last year. The fact that we can just come in here, talk about what we want to talk about, and not get rude about it. That's what this is. That's what this stands for. But I think Hell's had her hand up, and then Farokh.
No. Farokh, you can go.
No, Hales, are you sure?
Positive.
Okay, sure. So there's a lot there, but I wanted to, well, thank you so much, Sniper. I appreciate you, and Ham as well. Thank you, I appreciate that. And you guys make great points as well. This community's always been this way, though. That was one thing that drew everybody to it. It was always like that, like, good vibe, like, you know, a little different, like more positive type of thing. Which I know, I guess, positivity is not cool anymore, but you know, it's still important. And so, and I'm totally sarcastic when I say that. I think it's the coolest thing. To reply to Kyle, sorry. To reply to Kyle, I think what you said is not a hot take at all. I think what you're saying is very true, and you're right when you say that the communication from the other 99% is just as dog shit, and I totally agree with you. And I don't think you're wrong when it comes to that. Nor do I think that, however, you need to constantly every fucking week have a new update. It's too much. I can't do it. I've tried. It's too much, and then you burn your community out and you burn yourself out, so it doesn't work. So I agree with you on that, but that was why in the first place it went bi-weekly, which I did the same thing, by the way, Kyle. So I took a page of their book, actually. Instead of having a weekly Rug Radio Town Hall, we've been doing bi-weekly, and you know what? They're much more poignant. They're much more important and impactful, and they actually help the project in terms of all things, even the price action, even more, because I'm able within 2 weeks to come back with things. And the thing is, I think founders have to understand, especially the Cool Cats, if you listen to this, not every bi-weekly, like not every other week do you have to have big news. You're allowed to also come and say, hey, so this past 2 weeks we've done this and that, because it's actually worrisome if you haven't done something in 2 weeks, which I know you have. But then if we like will say like, oh, I'm sure they're working, I'm sure they're that, at the end of the day, you, me, or anyone on this stage saying I'm sure they're doing XYZ, you're speculating unless you hear it from the person themselves. And that doesn't mean they're not doing it, but it doesn't take much to come and just say you're doing it, or just say something interesting, or highlight the community, or you know what, like every week, every other week, or bi-weekly, like just do a Q&A, or do this. Like this should be almost like a Cool Cat town hall. This, what's happening right now, is actually a Cool Cat town hall, and because it's not happening tomorrow, so this is actually it. And it's like, and it has the same impact as a town hall, and so I think it doesn't hurt, right? So just an idea. It's like I've decided that the bi-weekly I do a town hall, and the other every other week. So starting this Friday for us, I'm going to do just a Q&A, AMA on the Discord, like in voice, and everybody wants to come and ask me, hey, Farokh, what the fuck did you do this week? You're allowed to, or you want to ask, hey, what's coming, or just want to chat and say what's up and have a good time, then you can do that as well. And so those are just some things that we're testing. I think that could be done. It's just like, I don't think at a time where things are really not going well, you should, as a leader, not step down, but like step aside, or just wait, because things are not really great right now for a lot of projects, etc. But it's not great for the Cool Cats. So Kyle, like, with all due respect, I think then you either decide to be like the other shitty projects, but then you'll have their floor. Then those are the parts you're mentioning, the ones that don't communicate, that don't do shit, but look at their floor, right? Or you decide to put yourself aside and be different, and then have a $5,000 floor. Because when you think about it, even though the floor is just, and we like to say just 2.5 ETH, 2.5 ETH is still $5,000. So it's like, or close to, sorry. So it's like, and it's still a lot of money for people to pay to enter something. So I think there's a give and, like, there's a give and take here. It's like there's the give, at least a give something and do something in a way, because even for the eggs, for example, I heard Goodnight talk about earlier. Well, what did I ask you? good night when I typed DM'd you 3 days ago. I said, so what's up with the gas? And I said, so what about the eggs and what's going to happen and what's this and that? And there are people, like, I remember, because I hosted the space, by the way, everyone. I hosted the fucking space with 5,000 people on Spaces when the eggs were going to drop. I don't know if y'all remember. And then we're selling for 0.5 ETH. Then we did a mega giveaway of 100 allow lists. It was insane. Like, my whole team, we spent like 24, 36 hours on this thing just to give like 100 addresses at the end of the CoolCats team, which was fun. So we helped it. And so it's like, and it was higher ETH. So it's like, there is also that side of the community and people that don't know what's happening there. So it's like, there is a lot of too many questions to be able to say, we're not going to communicate. Do you know what I mean, Kyle? It's not like, oh, hey, you should communicate. You should do this. You should do that. But it's just like, there's also something you have to give if you're going to justify such price action, in my opinion. That's, again, I'm talking price action position because that was how I saw it today. And that's where I decided to draw the line. Because if it was emotional, I wouldn't have done it. Because why would I go through this right now? So it was purely that. So that's the way I see it personally.
Yeah, and I saw Sean, VP of Community for CoolCats, on the stage. I don't want to leak anything she's working on, but I do think there are more spaces planned, more things coming from the team that aren't town hall centric. So I think the team wants to commit to the continued community engagement and being out in the forefront here. I'm curious, Sighduck, Horndog, other folks on the stage here. I know you guys haven't had a chance to speak. Is there anything you guys wanted to add just based on recent events?
I mean, there's so much to talk about. I hate Farokh. No, I'm just kidding. Farokh, you know I love you. I never sell shame anyone for selling any project. I think like many others have said, I think the stakes are high, and the community is relatively unforgiving at a time like this. And I think every little move will be scrutinized in some way, for better or for worse. And I think being sensitive to that is important. So I think the team is definitely, seemingly open ears and watching out and hearing the feedback from the community. But at the same time, I think actions speak louder than words sometimes. So I just think the actions need to be really evaluated and kind of scrutinized to the same degree that the community would, and hopefully that'll help help them see, like, oh, okay, maybe we should do it this other way, or maybe we should do this other thing that will have a more positive outcome than than what happened today, for instance. So it's we're always learning, but it's hard. It's really hard.
Hales, you've had your hand up for forever here. Are you ready for your topic?
Yeah, no, I'm ready. And I actually, kind of just to comment on what Kyle was saying earlier. So a lot of my experiences in Web 2 and just working with brands and communities, building communities in Web 2. And I do agree with Kyle that there sometimes aren't updates weekly. I have meetings where, we meet weekly and you say there's no updates. Like, I'm sorry. And that's just kind of how big projects move. I think that being in this sort of 24/7 global market that doesn't sleep sort of makes people anxious and gets people sort of their minds running at all hours and are thinking, what are they doing? Look, I'm working right now. Why aren't they working? Why can't they update as much as I can? And I think that it's all about perspective, right? And I've been in this community almost a year, so I feel like I kind of have a good grasp, although I've sort of split my time between my career in Web 2 and learning Web 3. But from my experience, I mean, I feel like you have to scale, right? If you're doing these if you're in the nitty gritty and you're getting your hands dirty, I mean, there do need to be people on your team that do that. I don't think that their team is capable of being that scrappy anymore just because of how much they've grown. in that amount of time, and the responsibility that they have. And I feel like as a business grows and scales, communication is going to get a little bit more sporadic, and as quote investors or collectors of the project, like, I'm not trying to just, I mean, I know a lot of people probably in this space have worked with investors before, either in Web 2 or whatever, but those are quarterly updates. Those aren't happening weekly or even bi-weekly or monthly even. So I think that in order for things to move along, I mean, if we don't get an update after 3 months, I mean, that's very concerning. However, I think that, you know, more short-term updates, you can go in the Discord and ask anybody what's going on, and they'll tell you to the best of their knowledge. But not everybody's in those meetings. Not everybody knows what's going on 100% of the time, because the team is scaling. Like, you can look at their careers page. I applied for CoolCats positions and got turned down. It's all good. I don't care. I wanted to put my hat in the ring to see what would happen. But I'm assuming that they got so many other applicants and people who were qualified, you know, for the position that they're working on. I have no doubt that they are putting their care and effort into this project. I think that it's just, you have 10,000 individual people who, well, if you go by holders, I mean, like 5,000, you know, whatever, individual holders that have different needs and wants from their end game in this project. And to be able to hit all of that is very, very difficult. It's not like we're a board who decides on goals together or anything. You know, selfishly, we're all here for our own reasons. So try to look outside of that perspective every once in a while. And I think that it's really important for people to take their day-to-day on Twitter with a very small grain of salt, because we still got tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the rest of the year to get through as a community. So what's hurting you or what's happening right now is not forever. Just like we realize that the euphoria and the happiness and the very inflated and increased price at the beginning of this year was not forever either.
Whoa. It's coming back though, right? That's all coming back.
I am not a financial advisor, but
yo, hold up, give me some of that hopium.
Just
all
come
of
on.
All of that to say, you know, I feel like I'm coming from a very Web 2 perspective, and I just have to agree that I would prefer more major and sporadic updates rather than just let's check in to make sure that they're working. That almost feels like micromanaging to me. And again, that's just my perspective. And I'm totally open to other opinions. I'm also a very laid back person, and I've expressed, I don't even know how many times, that I will never sell my cat because it is me and I am her, and I didn't buy it because I intended on selling it. I bought it because it's my new digital identity outside of my own likeness and image. So
you do look like your cat though. Like, it's
thank you so much.
A lot of people don't,
but
thank
you. Shout out to Mario. He's not in the crowd, or actually he is in the crowd still. Shout out to Mario for getting me my perfect hat in my life. But yeah, that's just my perspective. You can take it as you will, but yeah, just my thoughts.
I want to eventually get to our guest here, Kittycakes, but are there any final thoughts here that you guys have? Zupa, I know you got your hands up.
Yeah, just real quick, like, just for like a comparison. I mean, like, look at all, you know, the other biggest projects in the space. You know, Bored Apes, Punks, Doodles, Azuki. How often, you know, do you see them announcing, you know, some big announcement? You know, they're not coming out every week, every month with a massive, you know, game-changing announcement. And, you know, to Hell's point, you know, that I really agree with, like, in Web 2, you invest in these, you know, multi-billion-dollar companies. They update you, like, you know, a few times a year. So like back to Kyle's point, like, I think, people just need to relax, and it's just, you don't need like that micromanagement. And even though they've had it, the cats have been the only project. I think that, those weekly town halls for as long as they did it. So, it just gets tiresome, and, wears everybody down after a while. That's all.
Farokh and then Sighduck.
Hey, yeah, sorry, just last remark, and I'm gonna have to jump. But I agree with a lot of the stuff that y'all are saying. But also at the end of the day, like, it's still like, no, I don't think everybody's here is asking for big updates at this stage. I think we've stopped that a while ago, and it's mostly about just expecting a little bit of chit chatting and this and that. Now, I respect the comparison to other projects, but actually the founders and Azuki are how, I don't know how involved the Cool Cats founders are on Discord, but Azuki or some other projects, their presence on Discord is actually pretty important, and they're there quite a lot themselves. And at the end of the day, for me, it's just that's just all it came down to, And I don't think anybody should hold these founders like that. Like, you have to have a big thing coming out tomorrow every single time. But at the same time, I think it's okay also to be express how you feel about some sort of communication. At the end of the day, like, there was a lot of new hires, and they had a lot of heat from Ethne NYC. We've talked about that a lot. We've praised it, but it's like there hasn't been the action side a lot that has come out of that after the fact. So I think it's just like, and that's been a while by now. It's still been like a couple of months. It's still been like, it's actually like, I think you're at the point, because you guys are mentioning quarterly this and that. You're at the point where like you kind of like need a little something, and there hasn't been that thing. So I think that's why a lot of people express themselves in the communications front a lot. And it's not the same thing for like the punks and shit. And by the way, you saw how people chased Larva Labs founders out of here because they weren't given enough, and they say, what, fucking, they sold the whole thing to Yuga Labs. But the punks are art. So personally speaking, you don't want anything out of it either. You don't want announcements, this and that. And the apes, the reason why I think Yuga Labs has managed to really stay atop, especially in this market when everything else actually is going down, by the way, Zupa. And you probably know that, right? It's like all the other projects are not hanging as high. It's because they've actually kept delivering. And that's it. And they don't come on a lot, but they're actually also very active in there. So it's there's also that, there's been a team that's been hired since. It's not just the 4 guys that we all knew and were hanging out and fucking around with on Twitter and Clubhouse and all that. That was a fun little cutesy like family thing. It's different now. It's actually an enterprise. Like, they have a board, they have CEO, they have like all, not CEO, sorry about that. That's gonna come, but like, and by the way, that it's normal. That takes a long time, by the way. Like, finding a proper CEO can take months, and that's fine. Just saying. But it's just, there is a team. Like, there's been like a CMO that was added, this and that. It's just like there's a bunch of people now. It's an organization with tens of employees, and I think that it's okay also to expect something like that. Like, I understand this is in Web2, they ask for quarterly this and that. I also don't want to go into the whole thing of like comparing projects here to publicly traded companies and holders to shareholders. Horn Dog, you probably know why, but like, I just don't think there's like, it's the exact same thing. But at the end of the day, the price is going to reflect what the market here thinks, and right now that's what the market thinks, and I think the opinion's been made. So we'll see what happens from there. But definitely, that's just the last couple of things I wanted to touch on.
Let's have Sighduck go, and then Andrew round us out. Farokh, thanks for your thoughts on that.
Yeah, thanks, Farokh. I really agree with you there, actually. I think there's a couple of things to touch on, in my opinion. There's Hales, like you're talking about, basically information dissemination, and I agree. The larger a company gets, it becomes way more difficult to do that really well, and as a result, yes, the pacing may slow. So I think the velocity of information that's delivered is important to keep up, and then also the information itself that's delivered, or the topic, or what's talked about. I think for Cool Cats, Farokh, I think you're right. Like, the community is not necessarily looking for like big bangs always, right? It's more around reassurance and transparency at this stage, right? Versus like a big announcement. And I think the team, from the announcement today, it seemed like that's what they're trying to do, is like hold it back for a big announcement when in reality the community is just seeking a little bit of reassurance that, like, hey, we're still around, we're doing things, we can chit chat, we can answer some questions, give you a little bit of update. I was also thinking it doesn't have to be real time, right? Like Moonbirds does this weekly, I think, highlights thing where it could just be a simple post that's like, hey, here are some highlights for the week of like what we did or what's going on. I'm sure the team is juggling a million, balls in the air, but the community doesn't know unless you tell them. So I think like that kind of stuff can really go a long way. I think the aspect of trust is also important, Farokh, that you touched on, which is like trust has eroded amongst the Cool Cat team, right, and brand, where maybe they're not put on the same level as those other projects that were mentioned now. So I think that's okay, and that what that means is you just need to build that back up a little bit, but you also don't have necessarily the same leeway as those other projects or the same amount of forgiveness as those other projects because they have delivered repeatedly. So I think it's important to be honest with yourself there, and then it's okay. You just need to try a little bit harder, over communicate a little bit more. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
I know Queeny requested to come on stage to speak, so I want to give Queeny a chance here. Hey, Queeny.
Hello, everyone. Do you guys hear me?
Yep.
I hope I don't echo a lot. Sorry if I do.
You're good.
All right. Well, I never have the chance to properly talk to people on voice, I feel, because whenever you guys hear me, it's usually, very briefly on town halls or with the tournament last week. And so it's nice, to hear you guys always on spaces, and a lot of like great ideas come out of this. And I just wanted to say how, I might not respond to everything all the time, but definitely I'm always taking notes, always taking it to the team and the founders, and they're all very aware. There's a lot of very valid concerns that the community has right now, and I think I just want to put this out there, just so people maybe can see it from our perspective, and some of the lessons that I've had so far being here in Cool Cats. And is that I think that, sure, right now there's a conversation that people want town halls just to connect with founders in some way, but there has also been a lot of feedback, a lot of months in this year where people do want town halls to be of value, whether it's like a small update on important concerns that the community has, or a big update, right? But the point of town halls, I think, it's to communicate with the community these very important concerns. And right now, in this moment in time, there's a lot of very important concerns the community has, and I think that the founders and the team are taking notes and say, if we want to be able to properly address this, we need more time to be able to give the most information we can, because if we give half or just a little bit, we know that feedback has been that people don't like that and feel like it's a waste of time, the town hall, so there's that. And I also think on the other side that the idea of wanting to connect with founders or team members, it's very real for the community as well. And I think these two things can coexist, and town halls can remain as a thing of like updates and value for the community. And at the same time, other type of content can exist by founders or team members where the community can reach out and feel more closer to these people. And this is something that I personally also love of these Twitter spaces specifically. You know, you've had Bex, you have, I think, Merv, you have Jarvis, you're having Kitty right now, and like these are amazing team members that I love that they are getting known by the community. I mean, Kitty's work is fantastic. You know, I really mean it, and I think that one of our strongest assets is our creative team, which is absolutely amazing, each and every one of them as well. And I personally worked with Kitty, and she has delivered some amazing things in a very short period of time. The girlie knows. So you know, I love them, I really do, and I love that the community gets to know more about them, more of their process, and I think that this is great, and we can build upon that on a more consistent basis or in a different format in some ways for Cool Cats itself, right? Because we've talked about it before, you and I, good night, that it's important to have these community initiatives and community driven content, because that enriches the brand a lot. It really does. And it gives like a different perspective than content that is just generated by the brand. It just has a different flavor, right? I think we all can appreciate that. So, you know, I just wanted to jump in. Sorry to ramble on, but I appreciate you guys. And I know that the times are rough, the market is rough, people, you know, have emotions high. In these moments, just let's try to be kind to each other. I know I say it a lot, but honestly, like, let's try to be as kind as possible, understanding as possible, and navigate this situation together. There is a team here at Cool Cats that will continue fighting no matter what. Every day I wake up with that mentality of like, you know, Web3 is a challenge that we are all learning as we go. And I love it. That's what I love about Web3, because like this is so new, right? And there's so much things to learn about. And you know, of course, it's a challenge, and sometimes things will get rough. But trust that every single person in this team has their heart and mind in the right place, and they're working tirelessly to deliver the best they can to the holders. And sometimes it takes time, and I know it's frustrating, and I'm with you on it, but you know, just trust that we are. And I think that's also on us to let you guys in a little bit on those subjects, you know, that are of your concern and that are important for you guys to know. So yeah, I just wanted to share that, and thank you for having me. I won't take more time. Thank you.
Thanks, Queeny. And I think we all recognize you have one of the toughest jobs, especially in a bear market, especially for Cool Cats at this time. So thank you for always keeping things civil and productive in the Discord here. And I really appreciate you coming up too. Just it takes a lot to come up to talk on these spaces here, especially with the topic at hand. So I am glad to hear that the team is taking notes and that, you know, they're pouring their heart into this. I think everyone just has so much emotion over Cool Cats, and we want to see the team succeed. So we're here. That's why we do these spaces. That's why we're still having these conversations. If we didn't care, like, why would we spend our time still arguing over $5,000 PFPs here? Like, we're here for beyond just the superficial trading reason at this point, this deep into a bear market. So thank you for coming up. And I do want to shift topics here, hopefully shift vibes here as well too, to a more positive conversation. Not that our last conversation wasn't constructive, but I think there's something very exciting to be said about the creative team at play here within Cool Cats. I think the art is something that we still resonate with, just like Hamm said, just like Farokh said, just like everyone said. And I want to introduce Kittycakes, who's on stage right now, who's one of the senior digital illustrators for Cool Cats. Hey, Kittycakes.
Hey, good night. How's everyone doing tonight?
Good. I think this is our first time hearing from you. I don't think you've spoken on the town halls before, so it's trying to put a face to the profile here. Welcome, and I know that you joined the team at the start of this year, actually in late December. And as I like to say, as I told you, wow, you came in just for the fun of like right at the right time to see all the fun that transpired here. And I think what we'd love to hear just a ton about kind of what it's like to be an illustrator, what's it like to be an artist in Cool Cats, what's it like to work for a creative director like Clon. So maybe you can just tell us a bit about your journey in terms of getting to Cool Cats. I didn't know this, but I think on the last live stream, Clon mentioned that you two have known each other for a number of years. Is that right?
Yeah, we actually both went to school together at Georgia State. We were both in the graphic design program there, and we were a year apart. So I graduated in 2016, and he graduated in 2017. So we unfortunately didn't have any classes together, but we would often have arguments like posted in the halls, and we would stop and look and be like, "Oh wow, that person's work is really cool. Who is that?" And it turns out we kept admiring each other's work, which was really funny because it's like ships passing in the night. We really admired each other even though we'd never met. And we had a mutual friend, Evan, who was in my class. And he and Clon, developed this relationship outside of school. And, over the years, we all kept following each other on Instagram and keeping in touch. And now here we are all these years later. It's pretty unbelievable, really.
So what does it mean to be a digital illustrator on the team? I think for us, we know that they're artists. We know that Clon's a lead artist. How many people do you work with in the creative team? And do you guys kind of split up responsibilities based on, channels, or is it based on specific characters? I'm so curious. Just I don't think we have much insight into how the creative team is structured.
So there are, let me see, 7 of us, I believe, officially in the creative team. Most of us are designated as illustrators, and I'm the senior illustrator. But as far as characters and specific assignments go, we each have our own passions. And our art director, Elliot, is great at letting us tackle the projects that we most resonate with, stuff that we just really want to dive in and do. Um, I wish I could tell you guys what I'm working on now. I'm so dying to tell you guys what I'm working on because I'm really excited about it. I think you guys will really love it. Hopefully, we'll be able to share that real soon, y'all. And yeah, I'm kind of Southern, so sorry about the y'alls. It's going to happen a lot. Uh, but yeah, so, we all tend to split up a lot of assignments pretty evenly. Um, Sometimes split second social stuff will come in, whoever's free will pick it up, but we all tend to have our own long-term projects that we're all working on. Some of those are solo projects, some of them are collaborative. um, but yeah, we're all just really good at helping each other, pitching in. Every time somebody's a little overloaded, another one comes in and steps up to bat. So I mean, I am just so thankful for my team. Everyone is amazing. We finally got to meet in June in New York, and it was just like meeting family. I mean, I could just go on and on about how great everyone in creative is. I'm truly blessed.
What does a week look like for you then? I'm so curious. You mentioned an art director. I don't even think we realized there was an art director for Cool Cats, which is very interesting. Like who are you interacting with most, and how does that creative collaborative process work in terms of what you're drawing, and then getting feedback on it? Is it in line with the brand? Just love to hear about kind of like even if it's not a week in the life of a digital illustrator, but almost like a life in the span of a project, the span of something. How does that play out for you within Cool Cats?
It's pretty interesting. I mean, I never know what it's going to be like. Every day is completely different. So Elliot is our art director, and I work directly with him, and Clon are the two people that kind of tell us what's going on and what we're going to be working on next, and help divide up projects. But yeah, some weeks are pretty heavy. I'll be focused on one giant project and working on that sometimes for a couple of weeks at a time. Other times, if it's a little lighter, we'll have various daily tasks to do, such as the various social media illustrations that you'll see. Um, Bigger projects like redesigning the website, for instance, and getting all those illustrations and graphics done. Um, that takes the span of several weeks, sometimes longer. And we'll have our meeting with Elliot. People will discuss ideas. We'll divide everything up, and then go to work. Um, and it is pretty different day to day, and very collaborative in some aspects. Um, but we all work remotely. We post work for each other to get feedback, and yeah, it's pretty interesting day to day.
You mentioned the website. Did you illustrate that? Give us a sense on what we've seen, whether it's on social or on the web or in merch that you kind of brought to life.
Yeah, so the website redesign, those are my illustrations up there. Although it's funny, I did those so long ago now that I kind of want to redraw them all. It's funny how the longer I work for Cool Cats, the more comfortable I've become in drawing in Clon style. And so now I look at some of my older stuff and I'm like, oh no, I should have done that differently. Uh, and it's kind of hard with all that being out there, and there's nothing I can do about it now. Um, so yeah, and now I totally lost track of what I was going to say. I am so sorry.
No, I think, and anyone else can jump in with questions too. But I guess the question that was like, I look at like I don't know the other artists on the team, but I feel like there's certain nuances to the art that call out to say, oh, that's a midnight, piece of work, or that's Kitty. And am I wrong in kind of like when I looked at the website? Yeah, it was like that looked very Kitty-esque, and even with some of the merch, like the lucky blue cat, that felt very Kitty-esque too. Am I onto something here, or I'm curious, just like what other pieces of work have we seen that that have your signature on it?
Yeah, so there are some of the new merch. I mean, of course, all of the creative all submitted really cool illustrations and ideas for merch, so we've all got a hand in that. But the lucky cat, yeah, that one is mine. And the one that's like the little kids walking to school, that one's mine too. And I think it's funny. We all try so hard to kind of be on brand. We all use the same settings, the same tools, and it is really interesting how we all still have a little bit of our own unique style in there. I love seeing, what Midnight does. And I'm always, wishing like, oh man, I wish my work looked a little more like his. And then, Emma and Agnes do such cute stuff. Like Agnes with that cute little paws up emote that just blew up on social media. Just it's amazing seeing what everybody else does and how we all have just a little bit of our own unique spin on Cool Cats.
Hey, Katie, I have a question. How much free reign do you guys get to play around with different ideas? Like, I don't know, like, oh, this would be a cool social media post, or oh, this would be a cool like t-shirt graphic, versus having a huge backlog of tasks that are already scheduled and slated. What's the balance there?
It really varies week to week. Sometimes we are allowed to pretty much, we have to do certain social graphics. There's something scheduled coming up that we really have to tackle. Or some of the bigger projects that are happening that we haven't been able to talk about yet. Those are ongoing things that we have to get done. But I will say that when we've got extra time, we are allowed to pursue a lot of stuff that we want to do. So let's say I want to work on merch. If I have an idea that I think would be cool for merch, I can do it. The same goes for everyone in creative. We're given a lot of leeway to pursue things that really resonate with us and that we want to do. And I think that's amazing that they give us that freedom and that they have that kind of trust in us. And I think it says a lot about the company as a whole.
I think what's interesting too is I love the tensions. The good, like there's enough tensions in Cool Cats, I feel like, but the good kind of tensions in the sense of like when Clon talked about how hard it was for him to relinquish kind of, you know, art, drawing everything and being responsible for everything like he did when he was a solo artist, and really kind of collaborating with a team and great artists like you. And then you being very forthcoming in your tweets previously where you're like, oh, it's so hard drawing to another artist's style, and you know whether you're doing things on brand and correctly here. And I think you touched a bit on this, but can you just talk a bit about that journey of mirroring someone else's art but still finding your own voice in it?
Yeah, I think this is an ongoing thing. I don't think it's a process that'll ever truly end. You know, trying to learn to, you know, develop somebody else's vision, it's almost an impossible task. Every artist has their own unique creative style. And, you know, for us in creative, we have to take a look at everything that Clon has done to this date and try to emulate that same style of line, that same organic quality that comes through in his digital art, which is really hard to emulate. And, you know, do our best to, you know, mimic those line styles, those line weights, that character personality. And yeah, it's something that I've been developing, you know, for over half a year now. And every day I'm a little more comfortable, and, you know, I don't have to look at references or anything anymore. It's a lot easier than it was, you know, back in December and January when I was learning, but it's constantly evolving and ongoing learning process.
And you got to give us some alpha in the sense of like we know. I think we first kind of you know heard about you in a big way because one of the recent grass legendary pets was drawn by you. So I'm so curious, like you know that collaborative aspect of where you mentioned everyone kind of has all the digital artists kind of have a stake in the game, are able to kind of be creative with their ideas. That one's really exciting to me, where I'm curious if there's anything you can share about that process of creating that legendary pet, or even talk a bit more about, you know, without spilling too much, can we expect to see other legendary pets, or have we seen other legendary pets that have already been revealed that are non-Clon drawn?
So this is I mean, I will say that Clon did draw all of the final versions of the legendary pets. So even the grass shaman that's out there that I designed, I do believe the final artwork was drawn by him, or he at least took what I had done and he had his hand in it. And the way that process went was, you know, way back when I started, I would just pitched so many ideas for legendary pets. Just, I don't even, maybe 50, maybe more. It was just an obscene amount, because I was so excited to be on the team, and I just constantly drawing late into the night and just sending Colin just everything like, hey, look at this. What do you think of this? Please give me your approval. It was kind of embarrassing, but I think it was a good process to go through. It really helped me develop a bond with the brand itself, the IP, getting to just do what I wanted to, throw all these ideas out there and actually have some of them stick. I think, I'm trying to think for legendary pets, I think there's one more that I did that is yet to be seen. I don't think I can say much more than that. But once more legendary pets are out there, I'd really like to show you guys all the crazy ideas that I worked on that didn't make it in, because some of them are really hilarious. I'd love for you guys to see them.
Hawkward, I think you had a question too, right?
Yeah, hi. I'm like touching grass, but I really wanted to check in because like I was excited for this interview because it's like, you know, artist to artist, but I would love to hear more about like your personal art, like that you like that led up to Cool Cats, or even what you're like exploring artistically outside of Cool Cats. And if that maybe even like influences what you're doing, or if they're completely separate.
Yeah, so I've never really fully doxed myself on here. Um, I guess I can do that now. I think it's been long enough. So I had a brand called Tiny Kaiju, and I do still have my Instagram account for that, where I was developing for a few years my own characters, my own products. I had a couple of Kickstarters, and so that's what I was doing before coming onto Cool Cats. Is that was my full time job, was just working and developing my own brand, which was fun and really fulfilling, but super time consuming. So right now, you know, I'm 100% focused on Cool Cats. So my Tiny Kaiju stuff for the moment has, you know, had to sit in the back seat, and I'm, you know, waiting to do more with that in the future. I do still pursue some personal art projects. Once in a while, I'll participate. I'll have paintings in like a local gallery show, or I'll do live art events locally too. And I do still post about those sometimes on Twitter, usually on my Instagram page, because that is more personal art and not related to CC. Um, and I do still do, you know, like crafty stuff. Like I was crocheting when I was listening to the first part of the community spaces tonight. Um, I'm constantly working on something, if not drawing, just something to keep my hands busy. Um, but yeah, mostly just Cool Cats right now. Because I've constantly got ideas and I just can't stop drawing.
Well, it sounds like it's a good problem to have, and like we love a good idea machine. Like especially if even if this weren't an art focused project, I always tell projects to get an artist on there just to come up with creative ideas. And I look forward to seeing a lot of your influence on the brand too. You have to point it out to me if it's not obvious.
Yeah, thanks. With the project I've been working on for a while now, I'm hoping it's kind of obvious that I did it. But if not, I mean, I'll be, you know, spreading news of it far and wide when I finally can tell people about it.
Does anyone on stage have any specific questions? I have a few more here about the broader brand, but Ham, I know you're an artist yourself. Like, what you have any curiosities?
Well, yeah, I mean, having made an entire collection emulating Clon's style, I mean, she's kind of right on the money when she says that it's not easy. I kind of had to do it as quick as possible. So I did it under 2 weeks. I still haven't mastered it. The reason it's so deceptively hard is because he takes something that at the end point looks pretty simple. Like when you look at a cool cat, like just if you're on your iPhone right now, I mean, it's like legible. You can make out the different parts of it. And that's all like chosen and perceptive, and those line weights, they all work really well, and breaking something down into like its simplest forms, but it can still render those images and be recognizable is extremely difficult. I still have a hard time doing it. Like I add a lot of shadow, especially when I was doing the pigs, and I had a really hard time not adding shadow because I liked like that depth and how it looked, and I felt it added something more to mine. But Clon is able to do it without adding shadow, which is like huge applause to him, how he can create depth without using those extra little features and things like that. And the way that he broke down, like you see the flaming bacon on the top of my pig's head, like that took me maybe half a day to figure out how he layered that correctly. I think it's like 6 layers, and it's he's like, I don't know how he came up with a lot of this stuff, but it's deceptively hard, the way that he put this together. And I said it before and I'll say it again, like he is a master at making these PFPs. And you know, I just wanted to, I sympathize with when Kitty said that it's not an easy thing to do. So, and I applied for a job at Cool Cats, and I still want to be hired at some point. So if you need more artists, please.
Kitty, what's your take on what Ham said? Do you resonate with that? And I guess the separate questions, like what continues to be one of the hardest things or biggest challenges to this day on drawing for Cool Cats?
Yeah, I agree with what Ham was saying 100%. And there are still some aspects of the artwork that I also have to stop and scratch my head like, how the heck? How did this work? How do these layers go together? What the heck's going on here? So yeah, I still do face that. Not on a daily basis anymore, thank goodness. But yeah, it's still a challenge a lot of the time, and which also keeps it interesting for me. I love learning and being pushed beyond my limits. So, but yeah, that aside, and now I lost my train of thought again. What was your follow-up question?
Just the biggest challenges you still have to this day. I know early on it was trying to emulate the art, but is there anything that still presents a big challenge, whether it's the art or the types of projects you're getting?
I think the biggest challenge for me now is trying to constantly come up with new and fresh ideas, stuff that's unexpected that hasn't been done before. Especially when I'm looking at things like merch. What can I do that people are really going to enjoy that's not the same thing that everybody else has done? And that's a challenge that I'm facing, right now. Constantly sketching and going trying to not look at other people's work, other merch, trying to come up with something fresh for us. That's definitely the biggest issue I'm facing right now.
And I'm curious, like you were here for the first half of the conversation. I don't know if I would have dived into this topic with you if all the stuff didn't transpire today, just in general with the heated emotions around Cool Cats. But I know you and I exchanged a few messages before this chat, and I know it impacts you too, like in terms of just feelings and emotions, and you have your own thoughts, but you're obviously part of the team, so you can't be as candid or as as open on some topics as we can be, and a lot more than we do based on where the team's going with things. But what's been your personal take and feeling about the recent criticisms on Cool Cat, and how do you kind of process that feedback?
Wow, yeah, that's a difficult one. Yeah, I was definitely here earlier. I wanted to listen to everything because what's happening right now is really important to me, and I mean to everybody on the team. And it's hard, being part of creative. I feel like I'm so far removed sometimes from, business and marketing decisions. A lot of that stuff happens, and I don't even know what's happening until the community does. So, like when that decision was made today with the town hall, not being biweekly anymore, I was surprised too. And yeah, I do have a lot of strong feelings, and it's hard for me being a team member because I feel like, I should always be supportive and shouldn't be super critical. But I mean, yeah, there are going to be some decisions that I don't agree with, and things that I really want to speak up about, but kind of feel like my hands are tied.
Ham, you had a question?
Yeah, it's just another artist question, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So one of the most exciting things and a positive thing that I've taken from the cats in the last month was Link's lore. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It got me super excited about what's to come. And as an artist, or coming from kind of that, I don't like calling myself an artist, but anyway, as a person who likes to draw things and be creative, reading through it, and one of my favorite things with when I'm given a task or when I need to draw something is when like half the imagination is done for me, and then I can take over the other part. So reading through the lore, my brain just starts going, and I can just start picturing and imagining how different parts of the world are going to look, how different bad guys, how different creatures, plants, weather, like it just all starts whirling around kind of in my head. You want to start creating things right away. So have you read through the lore, and kind of like, were there parts of it that you just started to draw in your head and want to jump into kind of right away?
So, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought this up, because yes, the lore that Link has written is freaking amazing. And I can't wait till you guys can see, visuals to go along with that. That's all the alpha I can leak right there. But yeah, the world that's being built right now based on Link's lore, I mean, everything that he's written is fantastic, and I've read through it all, and I want to read more already. And yeah, it gives you so many ideas for how all this stuff could look. And it's really exciting to think about, the lore and the future of where Cooltopia is going to be headed.
I need to know who drew that map. That map is fire, like the Cooltopia map.
I think Clon drew that. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he did.
It's insanely cool. Anyone else have questions for Kitty?
Kitty, can I ask, were you active in Web3 before this gig? And are you an active NFT collector?
I'm really good at losing money on NFTs. Does that
count? Sure. Yeah, sure.
Join
the club.
Yeah, I do buy NFTs. Usually I buy based strictly on the art. I buy stuff because I like it. Which means I never make any money off NFTs. I just buy things that are pretty, and I have stuff from various artists that I've actually printed and framed and hung on my walls, which I love. It makes me happy to, walk into my room here and see all of this cool work from other artists in Web3. It just makes me really happy. But yeah, I didn't start getting into NFTs until CoolCats. My bank account probably would wish that I hadn't gotten into NFTs, but I'm having fun, so it's all good.
Okay, I know we got Speedy in the audience, and every time a new team member joins the team, he does the litmus test of what is your favorite cat trait. And so that's Speedy's question to you, Kitty. What's your favorite cat trait?
Probably one that's not most people's favorite. I really love glossy eyes. I don't know why. They just really appeal to me. They're so big and overly cute, and I just smile every time I see them. So that's my favorite trait by far. And I also really like the piercings. That little double pierced ear. It's such a subtle trait, but I think it adds so much.
I'm embarrassed to say I don't even know what the double.
It's punk hair. The punk hair. Green and red punk hair has double earrings. Come on, man.
Actually, the piercings are a trait by themselves too.
I have a glossy-eyed punk piercing.
Ooh.
Cool cat.
Flex.
He's a business punk. I just sent you a picture, an unsolicited cool cat picture.
Flex.
Oh, well, now I'm really sad and jealous. Thanks for that.
I'm sorry.
Just answering a trait means you're good. So, yeah, so that's good that you had two answers.
Yay! Does that mean I passed Speedy's test?
I think Speedy is satisfied. Yeah, Speedy's very happy right now, he says. So you passed.
You got good taste. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Michaela still owes him an answer, though. The bill is due on team members. Like, everyone's got to answer Speedy. That's a rite of passage to joining the team.
Yeah, and for any team members listening, get the comms in the room and coach whoever the new CEO is ahead of time.
Yeah.
To make sure they can answer that question.
Make them memorize every trait.
Yes.
Listen in alphabetical order, forwards and backwards.
Spend your first day just studying the collection.
Yeah. put on blast. We don't want to hear the C jersey. We'll immediately write that off. Like, we need a very rare, unique trait. The double pierced ears, that was fire right there. That was a good one. One question I think, just to round us out here, is also, like, there's not a ton you can share right now on but you seem so excited about so many things that you're working on here. And it's out on a high note here. Like, what are you most optimistic about for the future of Cool Cats? I think you touch on so many things that we just want to see expand, like the animation aspect, the merch aspect. Where are you seeing Cool Cats in a few years from now?
Oh, wow. A few years from now. I mean, I'm really hoping that Cool Cats is the next Sanrio. And for those of you not familiar with the name brand, that's the brand behind Hello Kitty. I would love to see this just blow up and be this huge thing that takes over the world. And I think because we have a creative team that has allowed so much freedom and the ability to pursue our own passion projects without any restrictions, I think that is really going to help grow the brand beyond where people have even projected us to be. So that's really exciting for me. And yeah, like I said, I can't tell you what I'm working on, but I know it's something the community is going to be really excited about. And I'm hoping that's going to be soon. But yeah, that's 3-4 years from now. Oh my gosh. I'm really excited for the future. And I know things have been rough with the NFT market lately, and that's always disheartening and it's hard to take, but everybody's going through this right now. And I think this is just a bump in the road, and there's much better things to come, not even that far in the future.
We love to hear that. I just want to thank you so much for coming up, and I think we would love to pull up more artists from the Cool Cats team to come talk with us too. We'd love to hear from Midnight, from Emma, from everyone else on the team too. So again, it's a huge honor to be able to talk to you here and for you to share with us your creative process. Not the spaces we were expecting today, honestly. When I woke up this morning, I think a lot's changed since 24 hours ago. But one thing was, like, we've got to talk to Kitty about, you know, this world that, you know, we tangentially touch on, which is the art, but we don't know about everyone that brings it to life. So I love to go, like, I love that we go on the Cooltopia or the CoolCatsNFT.com website, and we see your art right there, and we see Cooltopia, we see the characters, and that's all you add a huge part to the team, a huge part to the creative vision. So thank you again for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun, despite the current NFT climate.
Again, thanks to everyone else that joined today. Thanks to Andrew Horndog Sniper, Sighduck, Hawkwards, Upa Ham, and Farokh for joining us on stage. Queeny, big shout out to you in terms of coming on stage and just kind of addressing ongoing concerns. And, you know, I think we're going to be all right in the end. And as always, even in tough times like this, we like the cats.
We like the cats.
Take care, everyone.